Hey, listen, I am Rachel, the Destined One. And today I kept on, actually, for the last couple of days, I kept getting David and Goliath. David and Goliath. And so, as I was thinking of the story of David and Goliath, it's like, what is the giant or what is the thing in your life that you think that's too big, that you cannot do, that you cannot slay, that you cannot conquer, that you cannot finish? You have to think about who you are at this hour. You have to think about what you carry. You have to think about David with his slingshot and with his rock. And what did David do with the slingshot and the rock? David was like, okay, I only got the slingshot and the rock. But David, in his mind, God is with me. And David knew that David could slay that giant. David knew that David could get this is speaking in general or speaking metaphorically, that David could get the things done that David needed to get done because David knew that God was with him. And all David had was his slingshot and his rock. But David came in the name of the Lord. David came in the place where I know God is with me. David came in whatever it is that's coming up against me. I know that I'm going to win because God is with me. So tonight, I want to ask you, what is the thing that you have been given a task right now you think is too big? Or what is it that's coming up against you that seems too big? You have to know that God is with you. You have to know that you got to be like David. I know God's with me. I know that this thing is done. I know that everything that comes up against me, every task that I have, I can conquer that task, or I can conquer that fear, or I can conquer that demon. Because that's what David did with the giant. They was like, David, all you have is a rock. All you have is a slingshot, David. David was like, I know, but I got this. So what did David do? David took that slingshot and that rock, and David knocked that giant down. So what is your giant at this hour? What is it that you need to take that rock and that slingshot and knock it down? What is it that you're supposed to be doing that you're afraid to do and you feel like it's too big? You feel like it's too giant. What is it? Because whatever it is, it's already done. It's already done. It's already finished. It's already taken care of because God is with you. And especially if you are chosen at this hour, you have big tasks. You have big tasks that God has given you. You have big things and that you know that you have to get done. It seems too big, but be like David. Y'all may come in the name of whoever, but I, Rachel, I come in the name of the Lord. And so for me at this hour, I'm like David, right? I'm like David at this hour. God's telling me to do a conference. And I'm saying, God, all I have is this, and all I have is that. And God kept giving me David and Goliath for like 3 days now. Whatever God gave you to do, whatever you're supposed to be doing, you got this at this hour. You really have this at this hour, because when David took a rock and a slingshot and knocked that giant down, and he said, I come in the name of the Lord. David knocked that thing down like it was nothing, like it was the same size as David. So what is your giant at this hour? What is God giving you that you say, this is too big, God? This is too much that I'm dealing with right now. I can't do it. But you can. But you absolutely can. I tell you, God's given me a conference to put together. I don't know what I'm doing, but I know God gave it to me, and I know I have to do it. And I know the people that are with me at this hour that God told me to go get them to do it with me, they have to do it. And I said, all I have is this, all I have is that. But when I really started to trust in God and know that God was with me and know that God sent me, things are coming together. So if you know God sent you somewhere, if you know that there's a task that you think is too big, you have to really realize that God is with you. You're chosen people. God is with you. Whatever you're supposed to be doing, whatever task it may be, it may look too giant, but it's not. But it's not, because you're David. You're David with that slingshot and with that rock. And I want to tell you, it is not too big. Nothing is too big for God. And it said, with God, all things are possible. So what is the thing that feels too giant right now? You need to think about you need to say, listen, I got this. I got this. This is already worked out for me. It's not too big for God because God gave it to me, or whatever's trying to come up against you. Know that God is with you, because you have to think of yourself as being David. David was a force to be reckoned with. When they talked about Saul and David, said Saul had slayed thousands, but David, some of y'all are David, had slayed tens of thousands. And David didn't even have as much as Saul had. That's right now. God is calling you to do some things. That's what it is. God is calling you to do some things. It seemed like you have like this much of what you need. But with that little bit that you have, you're going to slay tens of thousands. You're going to do things bigger than a person who has more than you. That's that Saul and David thing. That's that David and Goliath thing. They said this is a giant. Goliath is a giant and David is little. How is David going to defeat Goliath? When you're going through this stuff, think about Saul and David. Think about David and Goliath. Think about that when God is with you and you've been called to do something, you've been called to slay some giants, some demons, whatever you're called to do. If you've been called to do some conferences, if you've been called to get on this phone and show your face and share your voice because you have a frequency that it calls in the people to help people. You got to know that it's already done. You got to know that God is with you. You got to know that God sent you, and you got to know that God called you. So, whatever your giant is, you have already knocked that giant down because God is with you. You have slayed the giant with the rock and the slingshot. So, whatever your giant is, it's already done. Whatever task that God has given you is already done. You just have to believe in the God that is within you. Believe in the God that is within you. So, I hope I made sense, y'all. Y'all know I ramble. So, be encouraged today. I am Rachel, the Destined One.